Hello and welcome to This Is. Unlike me, Apple is lighter than air.
We are living in truly unprecedented times where Apple is selling not one, but two, and maybe you could even argue three Macs that are a good value.
And everyone in the comments is gonna be like,
Actually, I wouldn't touch Apple with a 6-foot pole.
shut up.
Is that your comment voice now?
Shut up! The MacBook Air is just an amazing value of a laptop.
Okay, wait. Let's not overhype it. It's pretty good. Amazing is a little overstating it.
As a avid MacBook Airer,
You're definitely an error, all right.
I love it. And they have made it better.
We've got now the M4 Macbook Air, which was announced today. It's going on sale next week. Just to kind of set the stage here, previously, they were selling two versions of the MacBook Air, the M2 at $999 and the M3 at $1099.
I'm using an M2 currently.
Yep, solid computers, no problems. Last year, they upgraded across the board. They got rid of all the 8GB of RAM configurations and moved up to 16 gigs, and they didn't raise the price. Well, this time around, they've depreciated both the M2 and M3 and replaced it with M4, which means that for $999, you're getting the latest M4 chip and 16 gigs of RAM. I hate to say this, but whoever inside the Apple marketing team, whoever's running the Mac side, clearly care about value, and whoever's running the iPhone side, well,
they care about money.
there's other stuff to talk about with the MacBook Air, but like baseline, you're getting the latest chip. They got rid of the M2, they got rid of the M3. They didn't leave any of them for the base model, so just M4 across the board. And they've not only not raised the price, but especially with the RAM upgrades from last year, you're getting a reasonable configuration. Like, you should just buy the base model.
So I had said this about the Mac Mini, which
Good computer.
After our video on the Mac Mini, I went out and bought a base configuration Mac Mini, which is $600, but I found it on sale pretty much every day. And right now, as of recording this, we saw it for $530, which is
such a good computer.
Also a great deal.
Yeah.
But then you put it in the chassis like this, which is super lightweight, as the name implies. There is still a lot to nitpick with this. If you're a pro user, yes, it's a 60 hertz display. Yes, it has 256 gigs of storage. Port selection is
it's actually decent. Like, if you look at like this kind of class of laptop, my daily driver
I think this is actually better than some other Windows things.
What you're getting with the M4 MacBook Air is that M4 chip, very powerful, very power efficient. I don't think anyone can complain about that as being the sort of the base model. You can pay an extra $100 to upgrade it go from 8 to 10 core GPU. If you're buying a MacBook Air, you don't care. That's fine. It doesn't matter. That's gonna be like a 10% difference, but it's a fanless, no one cares. Just don't buy the 10 core. It don't matter.
Thank you to Bilt Rewards for sponsoring this video. Nobody likes rent day, and why would you? Every month, it's your biggest expense, and it's just gone. But we're gonna let you in on a little secret.
Rent day sucks less with Bilt Rewards. Pay your rent through Bilt and earn points every month. You're gonna pay it no matter what, so you might as well rack up points towards your next vacation or big purchase.
I could have been getting all those points toward my annual Rochester trip. I could have gotten a garbage plate.
Here's how it works. Bilt is a loyalty program that lets you earn points on rent and around your neighborhood. And there's so much you can do with Bilt points.
They have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate, and they're designed to fit your everyday lifestyle. You can redeem them towards flights, hotel stays, workout classes, and even your next month's rent payment, and a lot more.
Start earning points right now when you sign up through the link in the description or the QR code on screen. And make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Huge thank you to Bilt Rewards for sponsoring this episode of This Is. They also have upgraded with a new sky blue color, which looks like the LaCroix of blues.
It's sky blue, but only if you live in like Seattle.
Well, anyone from Seattle has clearly never seen the sun before, so.
Anyone who's from Seattle's stupid.
On top of that, they have also upgraded the webcam. So it's now their ultra-wide center stage webcam, which is nice. I'll say that is an upgrade. I mean, I think the MacBook Air had a pretty decent webcam, but the fact that it's the ultra-wide, it'll do the kind of the pan scan. There's so little to complain about. The things I could vaguely complain about here would be that the MacBook Air, it does still ship with 256 gigs of storage. I'll be honest with you, while yes, $200 more for 512 is a lot, I think that's fine. Look, it's just considering that if we were looking at this computer from like 6 months ago, they would have charged us an extra $100 for the M4 processor. They would have charged us an extra $200 for the RAM. We can't get too greedy here, right? They are making forward progress. We have to encourage them to do good things. And yes, maybe they could give us 512 gig for like less than $200. But like, look, we're making progress here, okay? Let's not get greedy.
I want to agree with you that they're making progress. I don't want to agree with you that we can't get too greedy. Never underestimate the amount of greed that I can. They should be giving us 16 terabytes of SSD for the same price. It's 2025, you guys. All right.
I think what's happened is that after they severed Tim Cook, he's decided that he's going to be much nicer to the Mac team.
I mean, the App Store prints money. So like the hardware side is kind of like, you know.
Well, no, they print money across the board. There's no part of Apple that does not print money.
Austin and I were talking about this before the episode. We got into a little spirited debate on how to configure this.
The context here is that Matt is basically about to buy one of these M4 Macbook Airs. So you're gonna upgrade from an M2 to an M4, probably a very reasonable upgrade. You'll be able to plug in more than one display at a time. But you're looking at configurations that I think are dumb.
I want 32 gigs of RAM.
Said no one ever in a MacBook Air.
No. Well,
dude, how much are you paying for that 32 gigs of RAM?
I am paying $200.
Nope, that's not true. Keep looking. 16 gigs is standard, $200 to go to 24, and $400 to go to 32. Yeah, exactly.
I'm in the moment of my life. This is the year of comfort.
No, it's the year of haptics. Come touch me.
No, that's a different year.
No.
This is the year of comfort. That feels nice. This year I have bought a bidet.
Good life investment.
I bought heated socks.
That's weird. I don't know about that.
I got a weighted blanket.
This is the year of comfort, isn't it?
Yeah, I've decided I want to be comfortable. You all know that I'm a noted strong boy. The 16-inch MacBook Pro, way too heavy. That thing, you know, I used to think that 14 inches was plenty for me, but it turns out I'm a little bit of a size queen and I need a bigger screen. 16 is too girthy.
No, that's not the word. That's not the word.
The 15 is just right.
So you want 15-inch MacBook Air,
yes,
right? So that starts at $1199. I want to build this along with you, right? So so you want to go from 16 to 32 gigs, which is $400.
But hear me out when I say this. I am fine with the 512.
Okay, that's another $200, by the way.
The spec I want is $1,800.
That's too much money.
And
that's too much money.
What, like,
that's too much money.
But like, let's talk about how we are using these MacBooks. Photoshop.
When was the last time you made a thumbnail, man?
It's not.
You don't make the thumbnails. Also, just for the reference, the reason why I'm salty here is that this is gonna be a company purchase. So Matt's trying to advocate for spending extra $500 on a MacBook that's gonna make zero difference.
I'm gonna make you eat your words.
Please make me eat up my words. Why you need a $1,800 MacBook Air?
Making the floor plans for the office.
All of this works fine on 16 gigs of RAM. All of it, 100%.
I make graphics for Kinsey sometimes. Kinsey makes most of the graphics.
Computers used to have 120 megs of RAM, my dude.
And then I also play World of Warcraft.
Nope. Incorrect. Okay, how it is? I just knocked $200 off. You just went down to 24 gigs of RAM. Keep talking. We'll see where you land by the end of this video.
The only reason I upgrade I didn't need to upgrade that at all. The battery in that one bad, and that's the only reason I switched over to the Air originally. I want all this in this form factor, but I'm also perfectly fine now using this device for the next 4 or 5 years.
Is this gonna sit alongside your Surface?
The Surface. Can I be sad about the Surface for a
Just talk about why you're allergic to Windows and we can move on.
Apple, I'm begging you.
Okay.
I want them to open up Mac OS so I can put it on the Surface.
So you want to Hackintosh the Surface?
Yes.
Getting back to the MacBook Air. This is not the only device that they've announced. We'll talk about the Mac Studio in just a second. But I think a very reasonable configuration for a MacBook Air is to add no options. $1,000 for the base model is totally, absolutely fine. If you really want to upgrade something, you could go up to 512 gigs of storage. But I'll just be honest with you, if you're the person who's buying a MacBook Air, you might be able to get away with it. I know that if I needed to get away with 256 and I'm not doing a lot of video editing, I would be completely fine, especially because you can get, for that $200 that they're gonna charge you to go up in that storage, you can buy a lovely little USB-C SSD. It's gonna be like 2 terabytes for less money.
Here's my counter argument. As we're starting to see more and more on-device stuff, me personally, I have next to no files on my computer. Everything I do is on some sort of server. But why I say you shouldn't do the 256 is to future-proof your system for a second. My mentality has shifted. I used to upgrade my system every couple of years.
Why are you upgrading this one?
What?
Why are you upgrading this one?
Well, because this is not the one I want 32 gigs of RAM. He don't let me have nothing. You
upgrade your computer more than I do.
If my battery hadn't died, I'd still be on the MacBook Pro.
I still have the MacBook Pro from that same year, and my battery's fine because I don't leave it plugged in for 6 months at a time.
Well, that's why I don't do that anymore. I just think like if we're gonna start doing all this on-device computing with AI, you're gonna start needing more RAM.
But can I just ask, what AI tasks you're doing on a MacBook Air? Theoretical things that may exist in 3 years, and you'll probably want a new system
yeah,
at
but
that
that's
point.
what I'm thinking about now. I'm speccing this out now for what I think I'm gonna need in a couple of years.
Which is what? What exactly are you running on your device? Most AI tasks are in the cloud. Like all the good AI stuff is in the cloud.
Isn't that the whole goal, is to bring them off the cloud for privacy?
Not in the next 2 years on a MacBook Air, my dude. If you're buying a MacBook Air, you should spec it out for what you need today. You should not spec it out for some theoretical AI future that may or may not exist that you may or may not want. This is a system that the less upgrades you do, the more it makes sense. And as soon as you start throwing 12 gigs of storage at it, 24 gigs of RAM, and blah, blah, it becomes no longer a good value. But like you get a base model, maybe one upgrade. You get a little bit more RAM, a little bit more storage. That's it. Then it's still very reasonable. On top of that, you know what is also, I would say, quasi-reasonable is the Mac Studio. Mac Studios have also now been upgraded. We should mention that they've been updating stuff all week. So they also updated the iPads the other day. But I do think what you should care about a little bit, if you're a video professional or a noted Mac hater, is the new Mac Studio. Previously, you had two configurations. You had the M2 Max and the M2 Ultra. Max is the biggest, baddest chip they make. Ultra, take two of them, put them together. Well, for the new Mac Studio, they now have the M4 Max, which is not a new chip that was already shipping inside of the 16 and 14-inch MacBook Pros. Very powerful chip, very solid, same price. Base model is $2,000, which is what the Mac Studio already was. If you want to do like hardcore video editing and whatnot, buy a base model. It's got 10 gig Ethernet, Thunderbolt, the whole thing. Just plug it in, you're good to go. However, in addition to the M4 Max, there's an M3 Ultra, which is weird because they've never done the M3 Ultra before. They're not doing an M4 Ultra. They're doing an M3 Ultra and an M4 Max. I have a theory that it's because the M3 generation was on an older TSMC process that was very expensive. All the M3 chips that kind of popped up, they have wiped them out very quickly. Like, yes, the MacBook Air just got an M3, but like they've gotten rid of M3s everywhere. I think those chips were just really expensive to make, but maybe they just spent the last year stacking up a bunch of M3 Maxes so they could get the little glue gun and go, $4,000. A lot of money. You get an M3 Ultra, 28 core CPU, 60 core GPU, 96 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD. But can we talk about these upgrades? You can upgrade this from 96 to 256 or 512 gigs of unified RAM.
When you're looking on the page, it looks like, oh, am I upgrading the SSD?
So you can get a 512 gig RAM and 1 terabyte SSD. So you can almost have as much RAM as your SSD.
I love the Studio. It's not for you. It's not for me. It's not for 99% of people. As much as Marquez is going to tell you that this is a consumer system, it is not. No consumer should buy it.
Correct.
This is meant for a film studio, a render farm for animation studio, a high-end recording studio who's working with hundreds of audio tracks. This is meant for a high-end professional.
You know what it's really meant for? Running AI on your system, boy. We've seen NVIDIA talking about the shipping the little dude with like, what, 128 gigs of RAM. And we just talked about Framework, and they brought out their desktop, which again, one of the big selling points is that you can allocate like 96 gigs or something of RAM to your GPU. If you want to run big AI models on your system, you need a lot of RAM. Not like Apple Intelligence, not like you're like rolling your own, right? Having a small-ish system that does not cost $700,000 from NVIDIA that will give you not just 96 gigs of RAM, but 512 gigabytes of RAM. I think that alone is why people are going to buy that maxed out Mac Studio. No other system will touch that. Because remember, it was the Intel Mac Pro, so like the 2019. Remember that they shipped that with 1.5 terabytes of RAM? But that was not unified. That was just CPU, which is not useful for AI tasks. But okay, here's the thing. Are you running a Llama model on your system right now?
Right now, no.
Why would you?
You and me both use systems like Claude.
Which is all running in the browser.
Right.
It's
but
not
I
going
would
onto your
love
device.
for that to be running on my device.
Not running on a
because
MacBook
I don't
Air.
want to give that stuff to people.
That's not running on a MacBook Air. Even if you had the RAM, you do not have the GPU horsepower to run a huge frontier level AI model on a MacBook Air. An M3 Ultra that has 4 times the CPU, 8 times the GPU, and 50 times the RAM, that's going to be a little closer to running something like a Claude level model. Again, we're talking about a very enthusiast level thing. No one should really be buying these unless you know for a fact that you're using 512 gigs of RAM. But it's a cool thing that this exists, and certain people will be incredibly stoked by it.
If you're an individual, you shouldn't get it. Like,
Unless you want to be rad.
If you get a grant from your, PhD program, that's when you buy that. I want to talk about the Apple tax for a second. So I'm on HP right now. I think I have specced out the close to similar. I got a 24-core Xeon processor.
Which I will say the Ultra has 32 cores, and I think they're faster than a Xeon.
Yep.
But sure, whatever. Okay.
That's the highest they go. RAM, I'm at 512.
Okay.
And it is $12,765 to upgrade to 512 gigabyte of RAM.
So you're spending 12 grand on this system for the RAM, whereas
So, like,
I've got this Mac Studio that's less than that for the whole system.
I think it's bullshit that people talk about the Apple tax. The 1 terabyte is included in the price for the HP.
Okay.
Great. GPU, we have a lot of options.
Give me the best you got. What can you load this thing up with?
NVIDIA RTX 6000 Ada generation 48 gig, which is $9,000.
How much is your system right now?
So right now we're at $30,000. And it just pisses me off when people are like, this is exclusive to Apple. And I'm not saying that like HP, like that Apple's cheap and that HP is more expensive. I'm just saying not every product is meant to be a consumer product. There's someone who will pay for this because this is the specs they need to do the work that they're doing. So stop looking at everything through the lens of a consumer.
I think as a regular everyday consumer, you look at a $4,000 SSD upgrade and go, man, that's dumb. But you just have to keep in mind that that's just not for you. You're just pulling up an HP that they charge $12,000 for the RAM. I've got that same amount of RAM and a whole computer for $9,000. When you put it in context, it's not that crazy. It's not good, but it's not that crazy. Like honestly,
I'll say like with these workstation systems, it's weird to have the super high storage anyway, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to a server.
Yeah, you don't need storage,
like,
really. Here's the thing. The Mac Studio is not for almost anyone. But there are a subset of people who this is an actually really solid system, and having that much RAM and this much power, and first of all, a tiny little form factor. You didn't even talk about with this HP. It is a big chunky workstation. This is like freaking the size of 2 Mac Minis or whatever. I feel like, I don't know what Lumen has been working with on Mr. Timmy Cook over here, but I think it's very clear to me that if you have your existing preconception that Macs are overpriced garbage, I think you actually need to somewhat rethink that. Are there still problems in this lineup? Absolutely. But we're now seeing from several years of updates and upgrades, like basically they're listening. We have been saying for years, oh, get rid of 8 gigs of RAM, it sucks, it sucks. They upgraded to 16 and they didn't upcharge us. Oh, we want better processors. They got rid of the M2, they got rid of the M3. We got M4 now. The Mac Mini is a great deal. The MacBook Air is a great deal. The Mac Studio is a good system for a lot of people. There is, I think, a real argument that while the iPhone team are dropping turds like the iPhone 16e that people are gonna buy because it's on contract, no one cares, but the Mac team are actually out here trying to make stuff which is not only good, but also, I would say, something of resembling a good value.
The upgrades are subsidizing the base models a little bit. That's how they're keeping this the same price as they were a few years ago. You know, what didn't happen with this is see a 25% price hike in lieu of tariffs. I know there's just like a blind hatred that a lot of our fans have for Apple, but I think they really need to be applauded that they are improving. It's cheaper on a relative scale.
The $999 version of this MacBook Air is a way better system than the $999 MacBook Air 12 months ago. I think that maybe we're just seeing some of the trickle-down effects of, you know, they're not paying for like Intel CPUs and whatnot. They have several generations of building their own chips.
But yeah,
isn't
this why they move? Like
a little bit, right?
It's showing that the model works. And I think that a lot of Windows manufacturers need to take note of this.
The Mac is hitting its stride in a way that we have not seen in, I would argue, ever. Yes, there are absolutely still issues with some of the upgrade pricing, but I'll tell you that almost everyone has similar issues. You try to spec a Surface or whatever, like most systems when you start upgrading them are a little bit sort of suspect. But like generally speaking, these are absolutely some cool upgrades. And I think it's a rare moment where we can pretty much all agree, hey, Apple, good job on upgrading a product without any caveats.
Actually, you can get a...
Shut up. Shut up. Just enjoy that we're getting nice things.
Did you interrupt yourself?
Yep. Like, follow, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one. Let us know what you think about these new Mac products, and have a great day.
We're not ordering you 32 gigs of RAM.
I want 64 now.